Hey, so it's quite late. It's 20 to 1 in the morning. Usual video without filters, as you can tell from this spot in my forehead. I'm quite wired. It's quite I'm going through this episode still that I talked about in the last video. And I'm a little bit manic. I'd say kind of hyper manic, which is, although I look quite tired, it's actually quite a nice part of bipolar disorder. I quite function well when I'm manic, hyper manic. You know, sometimes I can talk really, really quickly. I took temazepam about half an hour, 45 minutes ago. So I feel quite chilled right now. Temazepam is one of the drugs that I take that my psychiatrist prescribes, mainly to help me sleep, especially when I'm feeling a bit wired. Because believe it or not, for those of you that don't know much about bipolar, when you are wired and manic and you sleep less, it's actually more inclined to push you into a more of mania, which is obviously a state that can be very destructive, and something that I don't really want to be in now. So hypermania, I generally function incredibly well at work, because I can become very focused, very quick, and very kind of on demand. I can be very good at organising. I think what kind of goes out the window is that you maybe things like spelling. If I'm sending an email or I'm writing something down, spelling can kind of be out the window. Like I said, I can speak very, very fast. It often induces as well some kind of hypersexuality, which is quite frustrating when you're in a long-term relationship, because obviously your partner isn't feeling that same way, and very destructive. You know, when I was younger and single, and suffering with hypersexuality, and whether during a hypermanic or a full mania episode, you know, it definitely led to some risky behaviours. And I think for people that are going through hypermania or mania and experiencing that hypersexuality side effect, I definitely think it's something that you need to be very mindful of, very careful of, especially as it can lead you into some dangerous situations. And the thing with hypermania, it doesn't burn off as quick. I think when I've been in like full-blown manic episodes, which I'll talk about more in a different video, I think you find that full-blown manic will kind of burn out within, you know, sometimes as little as 48 hours, and then it's done. I mean, I have wreaked havoc in my life, and you know, brought my family dangerously close to its knees in them episodes. Whereas hypermania can last a lot longer, and I think I become more destructive financially. I'm very lucky that I have, you know, my long-term partner, and when I'm in these states, she takes complete control of my finances, of my emails. But already in this kind of episode, I have probably spent in excess of £10,000, and that's something I'm not proud of or bragging about, but it is just a side effect. We've had deliveries come through this door that I'm surprised when they come through, and I'm like, did I really order this? It's, yeah, so destructive in different ways. I'm not likely to put myself at any huge amounts of harm. And that kind of hypersexual urge, I can sustain now as I've got older, which perhaps I couldn't before. So I've started a new antipsychotic. I've been off antipsychotics for a while, but I've been put back on them by my psychiatrist. I only started on Wednesday. Today's Friday, so I can't really talk much about them. Maybe I can talk more about that further down the line. I was on antidepressant called duloxetine, which has been very difficult to come off because the medication has a very short half-life. So I've had some really bad side effects. I think I mentioned that before. And I've been on antidepressants for a very, very, very long time. So it's, I think, been quite a body shock, full stop, coming off them. My kind of main drug that I take is lithium. I take Pridel, but it's lithium. And I take 800 milligrams a day. Lithium has been a lifesaver for me, really. I certainly haven't had any full-blown mania since being on lithium. It's a mood stabilizer, and I think it's tempered some of these depressive moods. They're not as frequent. It doesn't get rid of the hypermania, but it definitely has been a good drug for me. It hasn't come without its problems. I was a size 30 waist. I'm now a size 34, sometimes 36, depending on where I'm shopping. And that's really depressing for me. Really depressing for me. It's also affected my kind of adrenal glands, and now I have a condition called nephrogenic diabetes insipidus, which means I'm kind of not being able to control my urine output, and that's led to, before the diagnosis, some really embarrassing accidents in public places. But I take medication for that now. Taking medication for medication is a real pain in the bum. I have to have a heart rate monitored, and that's led to some hypertension, so that's high blood pressure. So it's not without consequences, but it's definitely a drug that has done me well. I'll talk more about the different episodes of the states, the depressive episodes, the manic episode, the hypermania, and something I suffer with a lot as I've got older. Not so much in my 20s and 30s, or maybe not even in my early 40s, but as I'm getting to that, approaching 50, I get a lot of rapid cycling, so my moods can actually be quite changeable in the middle of the day, and not at any point in the day, really, is what I'm trying to say. And that can lead, to some frustrations for my family, for my work colleagues. Obviously, I don't go to work. I have a very professional job. As I said, I'm a nurse, and for my own well-being, I don't go to work when I'm in episodes to protect me and protect others. But still, it's noticeable. I've had comments from 3 different people in one day on Wednesday. You're a little bit manic, James. So I'm having some PRN diazepam now, and PRN means as and when you need it, but without exceeding the maximum dose. Anyway, this is just a random video. There was no structure to it, and I apologise. I will get some structure to these videos, as I really want to share what it's like for a man living with mental health. I think I'm not taking away from women or people in the trans, non-binary community, but I think specifically I'm affected as a man, and some of the consequences of how I think others perceive me, and maybe at times the lack of wanting to talk about my mental health, which is completely ludicrous. But anyway, I've done nearly 10 minutes, so I shall stop, and I shall speak to you all soon. I bid you good night.